All right, so today we're going to break down this incredible real-life legal battle between one single homeowner and his very powerful homeowners association. And it all kicked off because of something we can all relate to: parking. So think about it for a second. Can your HOA really just wake up one day and decide to ban all street parking? Like, completely? That's the huge question at the heart of this story, and we're going to see exactly how it played out. Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll meet the players, the homeowner and the HOA. Then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of HOA rules, because it's complicated. After that, we'll head to the courtroom to hear the arguments, and finally, we'll break down that all-important final verdict. So let's meet our main characters in this showdown. On one side, you've got Mr. William P. Lee, a resident just trying to live his life. And on the other, the Greenlaw Townhouses Homeowners Association. And believe me, this was way more than just a little neighborly disagreement. This was a full-blown legal challenge over who really has the power. Here's where it all kicks off. It's May 2018, and the Greenlaw HOA decides to adopt a new set of rules and regulations. And buried inside is this little bombshell of a rule change: a complete 100% ban on parking on any street in the neighborhood. And get this, look at the exact language here. We're not talking about, no parking on Tuesdays for street cleaning. It says parking is not allowed at any time, period. This new rule was so extreme that Mr. Lee felt like he had to do something. So he filed a petition, and just like that, the legal war began. Okay, so to really get what Mr. Lee was up against, you've got to understand how HOAs actually work. It's not just one big rulebook. It's more like a hierarchy of documents. And knowing which one is more powerful, well, that's the key to this entire case. The easiest way to think about it is like this. You have the CC&Rs. That's the big one. It's like the HOA's constitution. It's foundational, it's recorded with the county, and it is really, really hard to change. Then you have the rules and regulations. These are more like the laws. The board can adopt them, change them, and they're way more flexible. So the million-dollar question is, can a simple law just trample all over the Constitution? So Mr. Lee, he did his homework. He dug into the HOA's constitution, its CC&Rs, and he found Amendment number 2. It says, very specifically, that parking is a violation during snow removal. Now, think about that. If you have to specifically ban parking for snow, doesn't that kind of imply that it's allowed the rest of the time? But wait, there's more. He also found Amendment number 3. This one says that junker cars, ones in disrepair, will get towed after 72 hours. You see the pattern here, right? If the Constitution is calling out specific times you can't park, it sure sounds like you have a general right to park otherwise. And that right there was the heart of Mr. Lee's argument. He was basically saying, hey, you can't just pass a simple little rule that completely wipes out what our founding documents imply. He believed the HOA's new law was in direct conflict with its own constitution. So the stage is set. This thing is heading for an administrative hearing. And this wasn't some quick one-and-done deal. Oh no. After the first hearing, Mr. Lee actually managed to get a rehearing, which meant everyone had to come back to the table and argue it all over again. So let's just walk through how this all went down. The original CC&Rs, they've been on the books since way back in 1999. For almost 20 years, no problem. Then, boom, May 2018, the new rules drop. By September, Mr. Lee files his challenge, which leads to a hearing in December, and then that critical rehearing in April of the next year. Okay, so at this big rehearing, Mr. Lee comes out swinging. He's got his main argument, right, that the new rule contradicts the Constitution, but then he adds this killer new point. He says the HOA didn't even notify people properly. He dug up the 1986 bylaws, which said official notices had to be by mail or hand-delivered, not just blasted out in an email. Now, the HOA, they had their own pretty solid defense. Their take was, look, the CC&Rs don't give you a right to park. They just list a few times when it's banned. They said that just because parking is forbidden during a snowstorm doesn't mean it's a guaranteed right the other 364 days of the year. And yeah, they said the email was totally fine for a simple rule update. So you've got solid arguments on both sides. How in the world does a judge decide something like this? Well, this is where we really get into the nitty-gritty of the law, and it all boils down to one very important legal idea. In a case like this, which is a civil case, not a criminal one, the person who brings the complaint
has what's called the burden of proof. That was Mr. Lee. It was on him to convince the judge that his claims were more probably true than not. It's not like beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a lower bar, but the weight was still all on his shoulders.
And here's how the judge saw it step by step. First off, Mr. Lee just didn't bring enough evidence to prove the HOA adopted the rules improperly. Second, the judge said since Mr. Lee admitted he got the email, well, that's good enough for notice. And then the big one. The judge agreed with the HOA. The CC&Rs only list specific bans. They don't grant an automatic right to park. And so, boom, petition denied. So, yeah, in the end, it was a total win for the HOA. The judge's decision confirmed their authority. The parking ban was real, it was staying, and Mr. Lee's fight for the curb was over. So why should you care about any of this? Look, if there's one thing to take away from this whole story, it's this. When you go up against your HOA, you're the underdog. The burden of proof is on you, the homeowner, to show they messed up. And let me tell you, that is a tough hill to climb. Which kind of leaves us with one last question for you. This whole mess shows that a rule you've taken for granted for years can just vanish overnight with a single email. It's a serious reminder that you gotta read the fine print, not just the happy community newsletter, but the CC&Rs, the bylaws, all of it, because you never know when the next parking war might start on your street.